All right, good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing? Doing well, thank you. My name is Angel Van Horn. I'm the Director of Customer Success at Senior Sign. We're going to ask 2 icebreaker questions. I'll go first, and then when our panelists introduce themselves, they'll do the same. Questions are, what do you love about your job, and what's one thing you can't live without? So for me, one thing I love about my job is just interacting with our customers, teaching them how to use our software, and offering a solution that makes their day-to-day more efficient. One thing I can't live without, my answer has significantly changed in the last 12 hours as I had a bad run-in with some purple shampoo. They're not all the same. So a hat, maybe a beanie, just didn't go well with the outfit. So thank you so much for joining our Asking for a Friend session today. As you can see, we have a panel of industry experts who are going to offer their real-life experience and solutions for dealing with some of the common challenges in the industry.
My name is Brandy Sharp, and I'm the Vice President of Sales with Allegro Senior Living. What I love about my job, and I think it would just be growing people. If we take care of the folks that report to us, then that's going to trickle down to the community. That's what adds to success, is when you're appreciated and you feel like the company values you and is invested in your growth. One thing I can't live without is my phone. I think that's a pretty standard question, but I recently had the factory reset and I realized I don't know anybody's number. So that's what I couldn't live without.
Hi, hey everyone, I'm Nick Jasmine. I'm Vice President of Business Development for American Healthcare Management Group and Elevate Senior Living. One thing I love about my job is just the piece I get to play of helping seniors become parents again, not patients, adult children become children, not caregivers. And one thing I can't live without, a coffee. I do not operate without it.
Hi everyone, I'm Holly Case. I am the Senior Vice President of Retirement Unlimited. One thing I love about my job is the team I get to work with. There's a huge group here, so we all support each other. And one thing that I cannot live without is TikTok. My screen time is about 20 hours a day just through TikTok. I love it so much.
Key themes here, we have again received hundreds of great questions in advance. So our team has actually boiled it down into 4 categories. That's future and preparing for change, company and operations, technology and innovation, and common challenges. We'll go through each category. Our panelists, of course, will have an opportunity to answer the questions, and then Jared in the front row here may bring up a few of those live submissions if they fit within the category that we're discussing. Our first question is, what do you anticipate will happen to the industry when the silver tsunami hits?
I would just say I anticipate that we'll have a little bit of supply and demand shift. I think it all depends on affordability, what middle markets are available for people who maybe aren't the current generation that were savers and lived through the Depression. Our Gen Xers are more big house, nice cars, so they're not savers like our current generation. So there's going to be a little bit of a shift, and we're going to have to adjust to that, or we're going to have oversupply and under demand, or under affordability. Or, you know, we provide some mid-market options, and then we fill up those vacancies or those units.
We're going to have to change and be creative. What we're trying to do at Elevate Senior Living is bring a new development solution to the middle market, because the current people in the silver tsunami cannot afford the current product that's out there right now. The $6,000 to $8,000 a month for assisted living, $10,000 to $12,000 a month for memory care. I don't know about any of y'all. I don't have that kind of cash laying around every month. So we need to think differently about it, because they're coming. A lot of them are already here, and they don't want to live in the communities. We need to think differently about it, and we have to give them an affordable price. Otherwise, we're going to all be kind of caught with our hands in our pockets.
I read a study that said 40% of Gen Xers are not going to be able to afford to retire or live comfortably after retirement. So I think that's, again, goes to what Nick said about affordability. The other thing is, you know, a lot of our folks in our communities now have that long-term care policy, where I think the insurance companies got a lot smarter about how much money they were losing, and we're not going to have that option in the future. And a lot of people aren't going to have those good, solid policies that help them pay for assisted living, memory care.
People are living longer. So.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I agree with the affordability piece, but there's also going to be a higher expectations. We heard it from the C-suite panel yesterday. Higher expectations of programming, dining. It's not going to be the same that we're offering right now. It wasn't the same 20 years ago. It's not going to be the same in 20 years. So we have to kind of take a look at that. along with affordability, so taking a look at budgeting too.
Excellent. Great points. Next question about the future is, how does senior living have to change just to be ready for Gen X?
I think outside of the affordability, which
Yeah.
I think we have beaten like a dead horse here, amenities, offerings in the community is going to look very different. I mean, you know, do we have Pac-Man and MTV playing in our communities? Because that's the generation coming in. So we're really going to have to shift. I don't think it's going to be Rummikub and Mahjong and all of that the new generation coming in wants. So we're really going to have to be creative with our offerings and how we can attract people to come live with us.
Something that we've done at RUI is elevating our dining program a little bit. When we offer, happy hours, we also implemented full liquor licenses as well, because the incoming residents, they want Tito sodas, they want different champagnes, they want different things than that house white, house red that we typically get at our communities. We're trying to navigate that right now. So one easy way is just doing it through dining with different alcohol offerings.
Especially in South Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a panel yesterday talking about the different generations in the workforce, and I think if we look at those and identify, Gen X, wants to do things on their own time. They, we're big on the big house, so we need to change our operation models around like dining. Not everybody has meals at 7 or 8 a.m. and have a full breakfast. Some people wake up at 10 when they're seniors and they just want a bagel, and some people want to have dinner at 9 p.m. Or 4 p.m. So we have to be flexible with that so we can be attractive to everybody, not kind of put them in a box.
And to feed off that, do you see that there's anything being done now to prepare for these upcoming changes?
I mean, I know I can speak on what we're doing at Elevate Senior Living. We've completely changed from the way it's designed, constructed, everything. We've eliminated meal times. We realized this week that we have to change our MOD dining schedule because what we're asking them to do doesn't fit our current MOD dining schedule. So there aren't meal times, we don't have dining halls. When they wake up, if they want breakfast, they ask, hey, this is what I want for breakfast, it's brought to them. And I think, as we continue to build on it and try to share with other operators of what we're doing, we can help, inch that way for the industry to start changing to that, because we're gonna have to think differently. The same boxes are gonna keep working.
Yeah, and at Allegro, and I don't want to plug our company, but we are doing all-day dining. I think that's something we've been doing for a couple of years now. So I agree, flexibility is important. And lifestyle, we're always evaluating what people are wanting to do. We do that in the move-in process, what interests you. So we're having to evolve as we go with what we offer from a lifestyle perspective. And I think people coming in are going to be more active and look for different things. It's just important to stay on top of that, introduce technology. I think we've all heard a lot about that this week.
Are you all-day dining in every level of care? And how big are your communities where you're offering all-day dining?
Yeah, so we are for all levels of care. So the one that I was referencing is a 96-unit AL memory care. We have independent living, like duplexes on the outside, so they can participate. All of the AL memory care, they're each in their own neighborhood, so all of the food is prepped in a commercial kitchen, brought to their neighborhood and finished there, kind of customizable. And residents can go to whatever neighborhood they want. It's just a preference, trying to keep their independence and keep giving them freedom.
I would say memory care is different. Routine is good for them and not demographic, so you have to be careful. So we don't do, obviously, all-day dining and memory care, but we do in the other care levels.
The last question for future and preparing for change. A participant asked about diversifying a company's senior living portfolio, an example being adding a 55 and plus specific active adult community. What are the potential upsides and challenges of adding more levels of care types such as those?
In our company, we've added different programs. So a lot of our communities are about 40 years old. They didn't have memory care, so we added memory care to help that age in place. We did a recent onboarding last year where we onboarded a community that had villas. So it's a 380 independent living community, and they have villas. So we're looking at potentially bringing villas and cottages in. That way it's going to a different clientele. Someone doesn't want to go into the one main building, live in that main building, go to the same dining and all of that. They might want to live off site and then come in through a golf cart or however they want to come in and then enjoy the amenities through the kind of main hub area. So that's kind of what we're looking at in the future.
In our experience with 55 plus communities, I think there's always the question of, is the margin where it needs to be? The revenue is not going to be as high for the apartment monthly rent. The other thing is we have to market it very differently. We're targeting different people, so you can't, even IL and active adults, going to be very different with your marketing. So there's some learning curve there. I'd also say, it works with a very small staff. So it's bare bones staff with active adult. Sometimes that's a challenge in getting everything done. That's just how you do get the margins up a little bit.
I think the pro of it, if you're looking at it, like how you're selling it, when you have active adult or independent living with your assisted living memory care and a full continuum, you can sell that lifestyle. You can capture younger prospects that will stay in your community for a longer period of time. I know one of the biggest challenges that we have with our assisted living or memory care communities is how can we capture that person younger so they can stay in our buildings longer? So that can make it a little bit more enticing. We have residents that are on a wait list for independent living that we're starting to have conversations about, hey, well, by the time you might be able to get into an independent, you're probably ready for assisted. What if we talked about improving your quality of life longer in an assisted living environment?
And I think we can all agree, hopefully, that our current IL resident is our past AL resident, and it kind of trickles down. So people are waiting longer to come in. So with the active adult, you do get them in an earlier stage. So we're capturing them sooner because that has shifted dramatically in the last, I would say, even 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
There is often restructuring, and that can cause whiplash for staff. So why do you think that restructuring is so common in the industry, and what causes it?
I think we all have to shift within our organization when we bring on additional communities or we bring on additional staff. There's always restructuring, and you have to kind of look at the big picture. And sometimes we shift, and it's not the best, outcome, so we reshift. But it does impact staff, so we want to be cognizant of that when we, do make any changes in leadership or region separation. But I think it's just part of it as we grow as an organization. You're going to have those shifts.
I think you can look at it a bunch of different ways. So if you're thinking in the community level why there may be a lot of changes, I think on the home office side, we need to do a better job of communicating with our team members, being there, working side by side, and understanding what our expectations are of them and what their expectations are of us. If we don't do that, then why would a caregiver stay with your building over the one down the street that's going to offer them the same amount of pay? There's no difference at the end of the day. And then at the home office level, why are we shifting around regions? Well, at the end of the day, at the home office level, we're a real estate company at the end of the day. So there's a life cycle of when the returns for the investors are going to be there. So we have to make sure that everybody from the top to the bottom understands that, so we can work and push it together and we can meet everybody's expectations. Because the caregiver doesn't care about the investor's return, but they care about the residents. So how can we align those two so that, hey, the investor can get their return and we can provide tremendous care to these residents?
From a home office standpoint, we are, for-profit. We do have to, report to our owners or to our investors. So we shouldn't be ashamed that we are for-profit and that we, do have to deliver on whatever expectation that they have requested from us. So if we get the community buy-in by letting them know that same expectation instead of just kind of drilling down, having them support that same mission of whatever that investor or that owner is looking for. That way they're on the same page as you, and we can all deliver the same expectation. That way it's not just, corporate versus community. We're all on that same line together.
Yeah, I think the biggest way to ease that stress when we make those shifts is communication. And I always say to my teams, you don't go to the dentist and they just start drilling, right? Because that would be scary. The more that we share with them what's going on, why we're making the changes that we are, and how it's going to impact them, the better they're going to accept it, and we can all be moving forward with positive outcomes and find success. So I think just over communicating with our teams is going to help with those shifts.
From point of view, we have to do a better job of educating our capital partners to what the realities are, and that is challenging them to come to the building. Understand that if you're a multifamily developer, multifamily and senior living are completely different. 90% of our move-outs that we have across our buildings are things we cannot control. They pass away, they run out of money, or they need higher levels of care. We're not God, and we're not their financial players. So educating them on those challenges that we navigate every single day. Everyone in here knows the residents are not just a number on a spreadsheet. They have stories, they have lives, they've done amazing things, they have challenges. They're not just Unit 102B.
And I would say, we're blessed to have some great partners, investment partners, but we are seeing them more in the weeds than we ever have before. And I think a couple of these sessions this week, other people have said that. So they're more into what is your sales activity and wanting more reports. So I think what is important, and I agree with Nick, we have to communicate and help them understand, but I think they also trust us as experts. And I think they almost expect us to push back sometimes and, let them know, here's why we're making this decision, or here's why we're struggling. And they're typically very receptive to that and understanding, but they don't know what they don't know.
We have really great partners with our financial group. We have communities that we own outright, and then we have communities that we partner with financial groups, a couple different ones. They have set expectations, kind of like what I spoke about in the last question, but as long as we're letting them know where we're at with the expectations and communicating with them, then they're going to have a high trust to us. They do come to our communities. We tour them around. We don't put on a show. We show them exactly what our dining is, exactly what our life enrichment programs are. So they have high trust, but we also do the communication from a corporate level to our financial group as well. I think it gives a little bit of a ease on the shoulders to our executive directors and teams that we communicate with them. That way they have the focus on the residents and they're not on all these calls, and we'll take that call from them, and we gain that trust with our executive directors as well.
And I think just being aware that our investors have lenders to answer to.
Yeah.
So it's not all about us or them, they've got people to answer to too.
Yeah. Everyone's answering to someone. So.
Yes.
Everyone's got a boss.
Exactly. The next question I know was a hot topic a few years ago, even when I was at the community level. So do you think pricing will ever be just completely transparent in the industry?
I mean, I think it has to be. Every other industry and every other buying journey that these prospects are going through is pretty price transparent. I mean, I don't remember the last time I bought anything, a pair of pants, a car, a house, without knowing what the price is. So I think the industry is moving in a really good direction as far as being transparent with pricing, putting it on the website. I think it needs to be more than just the website. It needs to be at the community level. The care staff needs to know what the pricing are and what the journey and the reason behind that, because the sales process can't just continue to fall on just the salesperson. There was a panel right before this that talked about how when occupancy is low, there's a spotlight on the salesperson and they're the only ones that can do it. And that's not 100% fair. That's how you're going to burn out your salespeople. It needs to be everybody. The maintenance person can do a tour. The executive director can follow up with a cold lead. Your culinary director can go do a home visit. And they all need to know that information if they're going to be able to do any of that effectively.
And to reference what Nick just said, is what they said was, when things are going south, the spotlight's on sales, but when they're doing well, we want to congratulate everybody for a job well done. So, that's what we need to share in the ups and the downs, I think, as a team at the community level and at the corporate level, through all departments.
I think we need to be transparent with our prospects, but I think we need to be transparent with each other as well. Another really great takeaway from that C-suite panel yesterday was working with each other versus competing against each other, because we're all looking for that same prospect, but we all offer the same but different things. So what might work for our community might not work for you, or what might work for you might not work for us. So if we know the expectations of every other community, if we know what their pricing structure is, if we know what their amenities are, then we can help each other for the common goal, which is finding the right place for this resident. And that kind of goes into the next question that I know I'm already jumping ahead with concessions as well, is, if we start with concessions, if one person in the market starts with concessions, then we all kind of have to figure out how we're going to compete with that one person, instead of, if we all stay strong together, then we all can deliver on the right product at the right price. But it's the one community that starts, and then it kind of just trickles down in the market.
Well, I think specifically with transparency about pricing on your website, and I'm not saying every apartment has to be listed. I'm saying let's do starting at rates. The benefit of that to our prospects and our influencers is that they can self-qualify. Nothing's worse. Trust me, I've looked at a purse and then I've looked at the price tag and I'm like, I can't afford that. So, that's kind of a way for them to self-qualify and not go through the disappointment of walking through community and touring and doing all this and getting really excited to realize that they can't afford it. So it's really a benefit to our customers as well as, the industry. Because if you're not going to give me your pricing, I'm going to mystery shop you and I'll get it anyway. So why not just work together, to be stronger? And you're right, Holly. It's a trickle effect.
Yeah, I was talking last night with Sebi, she's the CEO of Priority Life, and we were joking about how it's kind of the same with Zillow. So obviously I love looking at multi-million-dollar houses, but I'm not in that tax bracket. I'll look at it from online, but I'm not going to...
One day.
One day. My bosses are over here, so just let them know. I'm going to look at it online, so they might look online, but what I'm going to do is tour the ones that I know I can afford. I might not get the pool that I wanted, I might not get this, that, and the third that I wanted, but I'm setting my expectation because I can read it online and self-qualify.
There's a lot of opportunity for education, not just for the prospects about other avenues to help get to what your community prices are, but also for your team members of just, hey, do they know about VA benefits? I mean, we have salespeople that join our teams that have never heard of that. They don't know what in the world that is, or what are your different options in the market. You know, hey, we might not be the right community for you, like Holly said, but hey, I know that the community down the road has all these other programs that we can't offer that probably would be better in their similar style or operating wise. So there's a lot of opportunity for that too for your teams.
And not to do a plug, but you know, we use Rubric.
Plug incoming.
Yeah. We use Rubric, which really, it helped us customize, but it's a way for them to go through, if you don't know what it is. It's on the website, and they can take a self-assessment, and they can talk about what their needs are to help them determine what care level they're going to be at. You know, it does talk about pricing in there. It talks about what's included, because I think what we miss when we do the starting rates is they don't realize what all is included in that. So Rubric's a great tool to help them educate themselves through this questionnaire, if you will, to see what all is included so they can compare apples to apples from what they're paying now and what they would be paying at our community.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so many tools out there to help support the pricing and that discussion.
Yeah, we use Rubric True, and we use it a lot for cold leads, trying to re-engage them to see, hey, what has changed from when they first came in, and if you use promo code Jasmine, you'll get 1 month off for free.
Jasmine. Oh, sorry. Who's Jasmine?
She will never forget your last name.
Oh, I'm glad that was recorded.
All right, our last operations question. Rate push, occupancy incentives, how do we balance these initiatives and how they interact with each other and the overall impact to the company objectives?
You have to figure out where in the life cycle is your community. There are times when, you know, hey, we need to lower the rate because we need to prove something to the market that, hey, we aren't whatever the building was before you took over, right? We're not that scary one that you don't want to move your mom into. And then there are times where hey, we're providing you a tremendous product, not just in all the stuff like, hey, we're taking care of your meals, you know, property tax, all that, but the community part of it. And that comes with a price. We're a for-profit business. There is no mission without margin. So it's understanding where is the timeline of it and are they lining up? We shouldn't just be, oh, well, this room hasn't been sold in 2 years, so let's just cut it in half so we can say we sold it. No, that's not the right time. If that's the last room, then spend more time in how are you processing, what are your tours like, or who are you calling, are you asking the right questions? There's so many other ways to do it than just slashing the rate.
Concessions don't have to be, you know, monetary as well. So something that our sales team that we like to get together during our brainstorming sessions is what can we offer them? So maybe it is, you know, just offering some maintenance services, painting a wall. Maybe it's going through an ambassador program. If you have a wine club, maybe offering them, you know, the first month of wine club to get them enrolled into that. It could be different things to offer them. That's not just, you know, $1,000 off Studio One or whatever.
The time spent and decisions made around incentives and rate and occupancy are exhausting. And I think it's getting harder and harder to do that. Part of it is just, you know, working with our senior leadership and our investors on what is the goal right now. Because I think that shifts. Is your goal occupancy, higher occupancy right now? Or are we, you know, pushing revenue? So I think understanding and everyone being on the same page with that, and then we shift our strategy based on what that is. Consumers are getting smarter and smarter. I think they're doing a lot of research before. Part that kills me is they're like, let's do a burn-off incentive. You know, let's give them a half a month free. But people know that $500 off for 6 months, and then my rate's going back up, and then I'm not gonna be able to afford it. Then we have to talk about length of stay. So there's so much to evaluate when you go into rates and incentives and how we move forward without losing the value of what we do. The increasing expense of labor, all of that, there's so much to factor into it. So it's exhausting, but it's something we have to continually talk about.
So a participant pitched offering a senior living university within communities to give residents and employees the space to continue learning. How do you feel about this idea?
I love this idea. I jumped in on the call. I couldn't talk, but I jumped in. I was like, please let me have this question. We founded an internal university called RUI University in 2017. So we partner with over 200 universities, museums, professionals, and they come in and teach classes. So it's free for residents. It's great for our sales team because it's free for the prospects as well. but it's also free for our team members. So it's all different types of classes. We have a resident at Heatherwood, a community in Burke, Virginia, and he's a neurophysicist, and his class is always slammed, and no one understands what he's saying, but it's slammed. But one of the trending classes that we're seeing, because it's semester-based, so it's quarter and quarter, and we change it based off of the incoming residents and their wants and needs. But one of the trending classes is technology. So we're trying to bring in more tech experts to come in and teach our residents, but also teach our team members different technology that they can use, whether it's, in the community or it's external in their personal life.
I remember 20 years ago, I was doing this 20 years ago, we were doing classes to teach our residents how to use a computer. We've advanced so far now. Now it's so much more that we have to do. So that's great, Holly, that you guys have all that. I think our big focus right now too is how do you implement and do training with our internal team and have them retain it and execute it. So we're creating a tutorial library of, hey, if you're struggling with this, let's watch this video that has us demonstrating how to do that. So I think there's so many opportunities, both internal and from a resident perspective, to keep people educated of how we continue to work together.
I think for everybody here, if you're looking at your operations, where are there opportunities or where are there partnership opportunities to streamline your processes, your operational things? I mean, we had and Senior Sign did not tell me to say this, so it's not on the card, but we were on paper 2 years ago before Senior Sign, and it took our salespeople an average of 2.5 hours between, oh, I misspelled or wrote the wrong social security number, have to reprint the whole thing because they couldn't figure out how to do it. It completely eliminated that. It takes 30 minutes now. They're in and out. The entire movement process is better. So finding opportunities like that to leverage the technology so we'll actually improve, but not just using it for the sake of technology.
First question here, how do you as leaders facilitate and enable the best ideas and problem-solving tactics across your company so solutions aren't siloed to only a community level?
As a home office, what we're trying to do is bring resources and tools to the community to take time off of their hands, so that way they're, again, in front of the residents or in front of the prospects. So an example, again, as a plug to Senior Sign is bringing Senior Sign in, so that way our salespeople have more time in the selling zone versus in the paperwork zone. So what we're trying to do is find these partners that can alleviate the time from the community. And then from a peer-to-peer, we host weekly sales calls where we go through different barriers, because we've all been through some sort of example of a barrier that we've come through with a prospect that we just can't close for some reason. So sometimes hearing it peer-to-peer versus hearing it from top-down helps navigate that kind of collaboration, and then we can hopefully bring that prospect in versus just saying, oh, there's a barrier, there's nothing I can do, and we'll just move on.
I think that the biggest thing for operators, especially at the corporate or regional roles, you have to be in your buildings. You can't help your team if you don't see what they're going through. At least for us, we don't have a corporate office. If I'm not here at this conference, I'm in a community every single week. So, and that's spending time not just with who are my direct reports, but also the rest of the team. Like I said, sales can't just fall into salespeople. If it's spending time with a life engagement manager who is having a tough time at home and just being like, hey, I see you, I hear you, how can I help you? Or giving a caregiver a hug and helping them out. I mean, that has a huge impact on your team, how they act, your retention, what they want to do for you while you're putting all your initiatives out. So that would be the biggest challenge. Find a way to get out of your office and into a community. Close your computer and work with your team.
I would just say that, our particular communities are very far apart. We don't have a lot of cluster. So that partnership that you get with communities that are close or, in the same market, we don't have that. So we really have to be that communication line between communities and encourage them to reach out to their sister communities, which can be hard. We all get wrapped up in our day-to-day. It's hard to pick up the phone and say, let's share some best practices, because we're focused on all these other things. But we really have to facilitate that communication between advisors, so we're not repeating the same mistakes over and over again, and they're sharing obstacles and how they overcame it.
Anyone who has ever opened a new development knows there are many unexpected challenges that arise. Are there any other common challenges connected to new developments, and what would you avoid them now with the hindsight?
Construction delays. But building off that, construction delays are inevitable. Has anybody here ever had new development that was 100% on time and did not have a single delay? Okay, perfect.
They're all liars.
Yeah. So understanding that it's gonna happen and doing the best you can to communicate with your prospects and your team of what those challenges are gonna be. And that's not always gonna work out. We just had new development and we told a prospect, do not sell your house. We do not know if it's going to make it this time, but this is the time we can tell you. She went and sold her house, did not listen to us, but we then worked through that. Hey, we helped her get an Airbnb, we helped with the pod and whatnot, because she ultimately trusted us to be a housing option. And, we didn't deliver on the first date that we gave. So it's navigating through that and just being honest with the people you're trying to move into your new, amazing, beautiful building.
Yeah, my lesson is to never go off of the first date that you are given when you're opening up a community. Lesson learned talking to those prospects and move-ins, but not much other than just construction delays.
And I would just say along those same lines is our lease up tends to be a little bit slower because we pre-lease, we get deposits, they drop off because of delays. So it's kind of a trickle effect overall. So our lease up time has grown from what it used to be even 5 years ago.
How are you helping improve the narrative of senior living versus our biggest competitor, aging in place?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to really answer that question, the first thing you need to do is when you're sitting across the table or next to somebody who's thinking about moving into a community, you have to sit in the chair they're in. There was a painting that one prior CRM used to use in the older sales training where it was an old lady in a wheelchair and had a shadow, and the shadow was a ballerina. We have to see that ballerina when we're having that conversation. We have to see that ballerina that the adult child sees as well. We can't look at them as a senior. So if we're going to really be competitive in that, we have to live in what they're doing, understand what they're looking for, and ask those questions. A lot of times, sometimes it's, hey, we see when we're going to visit their house that they haven't been upstairs in 2 years. It doesn't look like the stove has been used in a while. But if we say it, we're like our parents telling us to clean up our room. We don't want to clean up our own room. But if we think our room is dirty, that room gets cleaned. We need them to see it as well. So we have to live in their world and help direct them to kind of the mess in their room.
Yeah, I think we guide that conversation, maybe during a home visit. Mrs. Smith, what does it look like if you stay at home? What does it look like if you decide to make a move? Kind of talk them through it. We can't force people to be ready. The more we help them self-realize, that's the better way to go. The other thing is, it used to be bless you. It used to be a very real estate focused marketing, real estate focused, come into this beautiful place. And we've got to sell lifestyle now. It's very different. I think that goes back to the Gen X question. Like, we're not selling big, beautiful buildings anymore. We're selling what is your life going to be like living in one of our communities? Is dining good? Are we offering activities and outings that would interest somebody? And that's going to be very customized based on who we're talking about. So I think it's just knowing your customer and knowing that we've shifted from real estate to lifestyle.
One of your biggest marketing tools is inside. It's your residents. So what we like to do is bring residents on the tours. We try to do that discovery before the tour to understand, what their interests are, what their dislikes are, and then we have that resident that we introduce them to. We always ask our residents, can we come into your apartment, kind of sit down and hang out and have a chat, because sometimes your prospects look at these residents and they're like, well, they all wanted to be here. But if they hear from them saying, no, I came in kicking and screaming just like you, but this is the best decision, I'm more social, I eat better, I have a better lifestyle, I'm more independent now even though I have care. Sometimes hearing it from your internal residents is your biggest marketing tool.
The impact of video, you guys, is huge. Like, that's a new thing that's just come around, and I'm not going to plug anybody, but what I would say is the video platform that we use it to do live testimonials, and we share that with prospects, because they don't always want to come in and sit with somebody, but live testimonials. We do introductions to our staff to get them familiar with who they're going to be working with when they come in, and who they go to for billing, and who they go to for nursing. So if you're not using a video platform, I encourage you to do so, because it's impactful. And I'll open a video in my 8,000 emails a day. I'll open a video before I'll open an email and read a big spiel about sales.
Yeah.
So just please look at video platforms and how we've progressed in that way.
This was for you, Brandy.
Oh no, did they specifically say that?
Yeah, they did, and it was right at the very beginning, so if I can sneak it in.
Was it from Ms. Cabell? Is there an identifier on there?
So the question is, you've had an incredibly successful career. You mentioned growing people as part of your job. What's the best way you would recommend to take control of your career growth plan?
I think just always bringing forth value to not only our leadership, because that's obviously important, they make the decisions, but you want your peers, and my 3 amazing peers over here, even the community talent, you know, how the executive director receives you, how the salespeople receive you, that's all important to help you grow as a professional, and feedback's great. I want to know if I'm doing something wrong, and being open to that. Eventually, if people in the community value you and like your style and things like that, that's going to get up to the people that do make those decisions about growing in your career. So I've been very blessed in my career. I work for a great company, Allegro, and you know, I just appreciate it. I couldn't do it without my amazing teammates.
Thank you to our panelists. I do have to say, Senior Sign, if you don't know who we are a solution designed specifically for the senior living space to help manage the move-in experience. If you want some more information, you see a few guys in pink. Brandy's in pink too, but the guy's in pink. Although she can vouch for maybe some of the things we do. So yeah, just again, if you could give another round of applause for our panelists.